A woman clothed in the sun today, because I have an important message for you. Something that you may not understand about our times, the reenactment of biblical prophecy. There are two women in the book of Revelations. A lot of people are becoming aware of them now, but I don't think you know enough. The woman clothed in the sun with her fertility under attack is the war against the seed, and the seed obviously meaning the anti-Christian persecution. The persecution is quite clear. She is driven out from cities given wings of an eagle into a wilderness environment, and the earth swallows a flood. She has nowhere to live but a place prepared by God. And at her feet, the dragon, symbolic of the dragon who goes after the village virgin, as in rape, as in Britain and St. George, at her feet to devour the baby before its birth. And the dragon was enraged, went off to make war against the rest of her seed. But his time is short. So this comes together just before it talks about them worshipping the mark of the beast, whose image was breathed, now this is important, breathed life into. And everyone was astonished because it is a totalitarian state, one which uses imagery in the same way and who you really are in the same way as the Nazis did. And, communists. So it's a totalitarian system using imagery, because the image is a hollowed out thing now. They've got so clever at playing with it, manipulating people. And it's all been a manipulation, from the masks to the I can't breathe. So look up breathed life into the image, so that everyone would worship it and kneel down, which is what we've been doing, haven't we? They've been testing us. The people in power, like Gates, who says, controls our freedom, says we must all be vaccinated, otherwise we can't be free. Gates is one of these people who's of the elite, who is riding the beast, covered in blasphemous names. It's useful because they have no sense of allegiance. They can play with all these ideas of prostituting nations without any fear of any personal effect, because their integral self isn't dependent on nation. They can buy a sense of who they are. They have the right papers. They have the mark of the beast. And the mark of the beast is something that we can buy and sell with, as these conglomerates like Amazon take on all the carnage of what used to be our ability to sustain ourselves. So now we can see that we can't sustain ourselves without the mark of the beast. Now we are totally reliant on these systems. And many people will say, there is nothing going on in the higher echelons, and these are the people who have bought in. Even Academy of Ideas people who are claiming to be free speech, you'll never find them criticise anything that could be deemed conspiracy, anything in the higher echelons, because they're the paymasters. Look at Claire Fox, suddenly been promoted, as has Munra, friend, as Helen Rees, another friend in their organisation, tried to promote paedophile adoption to Theresa May. I've come in contact with these people, and they are so bought into the system, it's unbelievable, yet they try to call themselves free speech. So be wary of people who say they are free speech. These people that I just mentioned here are funded by Monsanto. They are funded by the Koch brothers, and they are very, very serious entryists. I had a number of situations with them involving Barbara Houston's friends, who was another person who attacked survivors. So there, and she got, a huge upset about people like Jana, because they're primed and programmed to defend the higher echelons always. So this is why we have so much defence of elite abuse. So this abuse, as I said, this war against the seed, standing in front of to prevent birth, to prevent normal progression, is child abuse. It's the transing of children. It's the perpetual state of being an adolescent of about 12, chemically or emotionally, because that's the paedophile preference. That's a preference for control of the embodiment. And we have now this split, the control of the embodiment. The embodiment are the children, the seed, the grassroots of communities, people who have a sense of who they are that isn't dependent on money and power. And then we have other people who have bought in so much through different layers of the structure, be it their common purpose training or their belief systems just can't be shaken to look at what's really going on. Higher and higher, and people with affinities to Israel or affinities to Freemasonry or organisations that they feel that they may, at the end of it all, have nothing to fear from the higher echelons. We now know, as native Britons, we have a lot to fear. Our ambassadors are against us. They are for globalisation. All of them, almost all of them. They wouldn't get into positions of power otherwise. Such is the bought-inness of every aspect. So now we see that our identity itself, who we really are, is under attack, because they'll say who you really are depends on your gender, your sexuality, because these are the last vestiges of promoting yourself as feeling something, human, animal even. What does it get reduced to then? You know, injection, cattle, mark of the beast. So we're being ridden as beasts by a global elite. And I really want people to realise that. And also I'd like to explain that I've seen a lot of videos recently to do with Babylon, and it's very much scaremongering against female sexuality. And I can understand that, and for certain men that's an important lesson to learn, that not being valued by a woman, being swallowed up by her sexuality, is a frightening thing. But on the other hand, it's females and children who are sold by Babylon too, and it's men who are prostitutes of Babylon. It isn't just females. They sell themselves, they sell every element, like to be the show horse, to be the whore, to not resemble who they really are integrally, to sell out their true identity, their true Christian heritage. So when they get together, like people like the Bishop of St Albans, I believe he's a bishop, who was going to sue the church for not promoting him because he was gay. And these people form together as one to, as it says, they have one common purpose, those who had not received a kingdom before, to give power and authority to the beast. So they have, like cultural Marxism, many different strands of things which work as one, which is against the embodiment of traditional divine hierarchy, and to infiltrate it to the degree that it's been done now, so that every other identity group has its hour, and has its ability to conjoin with the same effort, which is an attack on what is and was what we knew as our cultural heritage, our Christian, divine imagery, music, every element that sustained and imbibed us must now be imbibed by groups and organisations who, as I said, with this, he wasn't a bishop, the person in St Albans, I won't mention his name, if I could even remember it. Yeah, he's now promoting BLM because they go together. They are all a little bit of angst at, you know, our traditionally too white, as Justin Welby said, environments, too traditional. What they are going to end up with is the very embodiment, the very picture of Babylon, something so alternative that it glares at you. It's glaringly obvious that it is Babylon, because it's perverse, it's non-reproductive in elements, which again goes against Christian tradition. Reproduction, anything that can be made reproductively a little bit different, tweaked, is the denaturing, the war against the seed. And it is mentioned as the war against the seed in many versions of the translation of war against the offspring of the woman clothed in the sun, with 12 stars. Now these represent the European Union, and it represents coming out of her. And this is going to be a really difficult task for people. And we are being judged now on how we deal and how we put ourselves into camps regarding this, and have pity and compassion towards those who can't see it, who won't see it, who have bought in, because their time will come, because what they've bought into will identify them, and it will identify them in an amazing way. And that is our saving grace, if you like, because everything that is happening is known, and more than ever we're approaching Judgment Day, and our responses and our feelings, the truth about us, and the books will be opened on the truth about us, will be seen. So that's something to believe in, because we can see now. It's like, you know, the game of cards where you juggle, mix them all up, and then the trick will be that they come out in the same pattern. The person can guess the card that you've picked. Well, the same thing is with God. They're all mixed together, but when they're redealt, everything comes out in the correct order. With this mixing up, we can find out more strongly who we are and what is happening, and define our own qualities, rather than have them done by the state, which would be a very dangerous thing to do right now. So thanks for watching me. I hope you've managed to gain something from this, and we can continue sharing.